Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars for the week ahead, but also for today. And what a week we have, right? After following on a weekend that was spectacular, that Leo energy, right? Loving and generous. And I had a great weekend just hanging out with my loved ones, eating, playing, right? Doing some work. I did have to work, do some things this weekend, but it was a rather awesome weekend, especially because we had news of the presidential election before I thought we would get it. Of course, it's not over until it's over, and there are still challenges, I'm sure, that we're going to face with that. But it does bring a sense of completion, or at least a sense of righting the ship, perhaps, where things had been so crazy and chaotic and messed up. And it seems to have muted the noisiness of some voices out there and raised others, and others that are raised in the idea of bringing us together, unifying, healing. Love that, right? I love that. That is exactly what we need, not only in this country, but we need this around the world, and we need this within ourselves, right? This provides us not just a healing for a nation or for any one group of people, but for us as individuals, right? It always begins with us as individuals. So it turns out that what we all are on task for right now is for healing the divisions within ourselves. Where did we create the possibility for that kind of division, for all of that kind of craziness that we've lived through over the last 4 years? Whether, no matter what side you believed in, it's not about that. It's about the craziness that we were all involved with, right? It's almost like some kind of darkness descended over us, and we forgot who we are. We forgot the truth, right? We forgot the beauty of each individual. We forgot the light of each individual. And it's time now for us to course correct and remember all of that. So we are here today. We've just broken the void at about, well, it was 5:30 my time, 8:30 for those of you on the East Coast, where now the moon is out of the sign of Leo and into the sign of Virgo, my favorite moon sign. And a couple of you out there as well who have the moon in Virgo, you're staring down the beginnings of a new moon, a personal new moon. And we go from playful games and recreation to let's get her done, right? Get down to work, get back to basics. Let's get some things done. So I want to talk to you today about what Virgo rules as far as the moon is concerned. And we do have a couple of really good transits today related to the moon. One is a sextile to Mercury that has already occurred, and the other a trine to Uranus. And both of those characters rule the mind. So it really shows us where it's time for us to elevate our thinking, to elevate our connection to change and to all the possibilities of what change can bring to us as we move on through this particular week. And not just this week, though, as time goes on into the future. And then we'll take a look ahead at what some of the other transits are for the week. There are some big things happening. So when I look at this week, I see it's a monumental week in terms of the weight of the transits that are occurring, but it also is a monumental opening as we're headed now down to the new moon and what can be a brand new start, right? A new round of setting intentions and of moving forward. So we'll talk about the week. Then I also want to talk to you about the Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day. We're nearing the end of that spiral of consciousness because today we've come to the 11th day, the day of illumination of light, right? I love that. And then lastly, I want to talk about fear, because we're still dealing, as much as I love that the sun moved out of the fear gates, we still have Mercury and Venus planted right there in gates of fear that the sun has already been through, and that the sun and the earth have already brought up to our attention. Now we get to apply those lessons to our relationships, to our values, and to each other, how we nurture one another. So we'll take a look at all of that. As well, today we have two major transits of planets. One, Venus opposing Mars, Mars in retrograde still, and also the Sun trine Neptune. So I want to give you some clues about those two transits that are happening as well today. So let's take a look and say good morning to people. Good morning, Pauline and Amy Energy and Camilla. It's great to see you. It's been a long time since we've seen you. It's great to have you back. Joshua Nichols, good morning to you. Jennifer Peachy, hello. And Tati, I believe, is Moon Sign Supplies. Hello to you. Asa, of course, good morning. Kathleen Mallory, good morning. Mimi, good morning. Debbie Tippett Tumiel, good morning. Christine Buckingham, good morning. And Amanda J says hello, everyone. I got to share with you guys. I'll probably post this on Facebook later, but the first thing I saw this morning was this beautiful peachy orange coral colored sunrise. And partly because it was cloudy where I am, but on the horizon to the south and east of me, there was sun, right? So it was beautiful. And I snapped a picture and sent it to Asa because not only was the coloring beautiful, which of course my camera never seems to connect to that color, but you could see Mount Rainier. And you got to know Mount Rainier is likely about 100 and some miles from me. And for me to even be able to see it, much less see it clearly, and then see it with all these colors was just extraordinary. It was very much taking my attention away from the work of the day as I was lost in the beauty that I was seeing. And on top of that, the water is right out here for me, right? Like the bay is right there. And this morning the tide was out, and I could tell the tide was out because there were pools. And in the pools, you could see the reflection of the colors, but you could also see it in the sand or the bottom, the mud bottom of the bay. And it was gorgeous how all of those colors were playing out. And the picture just doesn't do it justice, but it was really inspirational. And it's these kinds of little things, right? Just these little things that we can connect to, each one of us on any given day, in any given moment, no matter how terrible it looks out there, no matter what we think is the horribleness of the world or whatever, we can always find something to love, something to enjoy, something to be grateful for. And I dare say we have many days ahead of us where we'll need that kind of memory, right? The memory of how we can be the mistresses of our own destiny, right? By choosing to find something beautiful. Now, it's not always that dramatically beautiful out here. As you know, we have a lot of rain, but then on those days, what could I find that is inspirational? So that's our task, right? To be able to find those little things to be grateful for as we go forward now. J-Lo, good morning to you as well. So I'm going to pop back over here to Zoom so we can talk about the energy of the moon today. The moon being in the sign of Virgo on a Monday is always a good thing, I think. It gives me the inspiration to work, to come out of the weekend reverie and into the day's work or the week's work. And when we're talking about the moon in Virgo, we're also talking about the connection to our bodies, to the physical, right? It is an earth sign, and that earth sign requires practical, down to earth, step-by-step action, just like Capricorn does, as well as Taurus energy does. It favors the practical, it favors the getting things done kind of thing. Now, Virgo itself rules the physical health of the body. So getting things done might include things like going to the doctor, making your dentist appointments, getting your healers on board with some kind of healing, diet, exercise, the body. What are you putting in? And how is the quality of the food that you're giving yourself, the energies that you're putting into your body in relation to what you need in order to work in a very healthy way. So today also is about healing and healers in Virgo. So the moon bringing us maybe the emotional connection to where our body is off kilter, where things aren't going correctly in the physical body, in the expression of the physical. Perhaps there is something more that we need to look at. It was really interesting because my daughter found a doctor on Friday, that a woman's doctor, and she had never been to her before. She's new in the valley here, so I'd never heard of her before either. And she's a doctor that goes not to the symptoms, although she will treat your symptoms. She goes right to the cause. And Heather, my daughter, who's worked in the health industry forever, was so impressed that she's calling me, Mom, you need to go to this doctor. Because what doctor tells you right off, look, you have these symptoms and great, we're going to look at that, but I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to go straight to the cause of what this is all about. And it may take us a little longer to get there while we go through this process, but we're going to get to the bottom of this issue that you're having. Love it. I love that kind of an upside. It doesn't it sound so logical that it should always have been about that, but somehow we got to symptom treating, right? Let's just throw pills at you or a shot or, something, some kind of, let's put a Band-Aid over it. We've done it in many ways, not just in our own bodies. We've done it to the economy. We've done it in our institutions. We've put these Band-Aids over rather than getting down to the cause. So causation, another great word for Virgo energy. Now, Virgo also rules our work, our jobs that we do, the tasks and the projects that we undertake. I'm in the midst of a big project, one for this week that you'll all want to know about, because on Wednesday evening, Wednesday is the 11th, Veterans Day. I will be on Angel Heart Radio doing the 4th installment of the solar plexus mutation. And we will be looking at graphics. Thank you, Asa, for working on those for me, because there's a lot for us to talk about to finish up our talk about what happens by 2027 when that solar mutation finishes its work, changing up humanity and creating the evolution in our consciousness. And so that will be on Wednesday night. I want to say now, with time changes, it's likely going to be at 5:30 p.m. as opposed to 6:30 p.m. But I'll have to check and see what time it actually is in Brisbane, because that's where they broadcast from. And I will, of course, let you know. And if so, it would be 5:30 p.m. my time, West Coast time, 8:30 for those of you on the East Coast. But I think when I checked on it before, it was just an hour difference. So we are looking at the work we're doing, the projects we've undertaken, the routines that we are part of. How do we, can we upset the routine, right? There's sometimes this unconsciousness that comes about because of the routines that we get into, right? The doing the same thing at the same time in the same order. That's Virgo, right? Virgo doing it in a very planned and executing the plan step by step. But sometimes maybe you want to, shake up your routine a bit, do something a little bit different. It also, the moon in Virgo also rules our coworkers, so the people that we are around every day. It is about creative organization, creating an orderly environment. I must have been pre-thinking about this, because yesterday I did a complete clean off of my desk, and well, maybe not totally complete, but pretty complete, and also cleaned up the area around my desk. I was feeling the need to get that order, to get that chaos cleaned up, to become more efficient. That's also moon in Virgo, more efficient planning, right? Planning ahead, getting your paperwork done, getting your the seeing to the details of things. That's what the moon in Virgo is really good for, bringing us to those details. And I always think of Virgo, people who have a lot of 6th house energy, or Virgos themselves, or people with a lot of energy in Virgo in their natal charts, as people who might make, well, you'd have to have some Libra in there too, that might make great feng shui consultants, or who are really adept at, maybe they don't call it feng shui, but they are able to really organize themselves, their environment in a feng shui sort of way, where energy flows easily and effortlessly. So today, maybe creating that sort of space that you're in, where if you've got things that are in the way that are blocking up the energy, let's move it on out, right? Let's change it up. In the mind department, because we're Virgo here, and Virgo energy is related to Mercury, and Mercury is the planet that rules our mind, our thinking, and our ability to communicate. So here we have the ability then with the mind to get into analysis, to critically think, to be able to focus, and to use discernment in choosing what we say, what we're going to think about, what our minds are going to be focused on. and also to make sure we don't fall into analysis paralysis where we just get caught up in that analyzing things to death. There is an air of service that comes through Virgo as well. Practical helpfulness, and conscientiousness are all a part for the next few days while the moon is in Virgo that each one of us can look at. And every one of you has Virgo somewhere in your chart. Even if Virgo is empty, like there are no planets in it, you still have the ruler of Virgo, Mercury, somewhere in your chart. And we can look and see the relationship to the house that Virgo is in, to the sign of Virgo, and to where the ruler of Virgo falls in your own natal chart. So there's never an empty house. It might not have planets in it, but there is always energy there. There is always something that we can tie to that area of your life because we are all complete. It's the same thing I say with human design. You may have some openness in your human design, but you are complete. You have it all. You have all of the human design. You have all of the zodiac, right? You have it all there in your own chart. You are not lacking. You are not lacking anything. It's just set up differently for each one of us. And here, Virgo rules perfectionism, right? This idea of being perfect, putting things together, bringing order out of chaos, processing, right? Processing, whether that's from our minds, processing emotions or the things that have happened, the events in our lives, or whether we're processing getting things done, right? Get this done, then go on to this thing, and then get that done and go on to the next thing, processing. In the more negative aspects of Virgo, that seeking perfection turns into perfectionism. And then out of that comes criticism, worry, blame and judgment, or workaholic tendencies. So as all signs, we have the high and we have the lower energy for us to work through. In the body, Virgo rules the digestion system. And I was thinking about this morning because it's the solar plexus as well. So the solar plexus, the gut, our bowels, that whole idea of food into the mouth begins the digestion. Then it moves down through the esophagus into the stomach where food is digested, and then moves on into the small intestine where water begins to be removed and the assimilation of the nutrients of what you've eaten get taken care of. And finally, in the large intestine, the waste is taken care of. What doesn't get used gets pushed out of the body. And Virgo rules that whole entire process. It was the solar plexus connection that made me go, ooh, Virgo is so important for all of us to be tuned into right now, because we have, through science, discovered that the gut, the flora that lives in the gut, is so important to the health of the body. And when you are deficient in the gut flora, it affects even the mind, right? And how healthy you are. Autoimmune diseases possibly trace back in some cases to a lack of the flora, the good flora in our guts. And so that is a consideration for us all to think about here. What are we taking in? How is it digesting? Do we have the correct biology, let's say, in our guts to be able to digest appropriately what needs to be digested and to be able to release that which we are not able to use? And that comes from Virgo energy, surprisingly enough, right? Virgo, the body. Okay, questions about Virgo? Did I see something pop up here? Oh, that is so sweet, Ingrid. That is awesome. Okay, so I'll deal with that though. I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. Asa, if there are any questions out there, you know what to do, right? Let them bring it up to me. Let's see who else is out there. Amanda J, good morning. Corey, hello. Pauline Blenner, find rainbow in rain. Find the rainbow in rain. Yes, exactly. Sylvester Miller, Grand Rising, lovely people, sending love and positive vibes. Love it, love it. You know what else I'm loving, guys, is the community page. It is just exploding. I love that, right? I love it. And it makes the person who was trying to browbeat me for setting it up during a Mercury retrograde just makes me go, yes, I knew the timing was right, that everybody was ready to begin sharing. People like Ursula and Tom and Mimi, and I mean, many of you out there, Pauline, Kathleen Mallory, and others. Let's get everybody over there. It is on Facebook. It is a group called Living Astrology Community. It is the support for what we do here in the morning. And I share interesting articles. Ursula shares interesting articles. Tom, I hope you went in yesterday after sending me the fabulous article from Emmett Fox and put that on the community. If you did not, I will share that later. It was amazing, amazing. And if you don't know who Emmett Fox is, he was a prolific writer up until I believe he died in 1951, 50, somewhere around there. And he left behind very highly spiritual, almost prescient, like seeing way into the future, writings about spirit, about even the Bible, in terms of things that the Bible says that are really meant to be taken in a different way. And I loved this article. He was talking about the age of Aquarius and how we are leaving the age of Pisces, and we're looking to see now what will be the symbol of our times, as the symbol for the age of Pisces became the fish and the Piscean fish, right? And the character who epitomized the Piscean age was Jesus Christ, and how Christianity became a part of the symbols of besides the cross, which really doesn't have much to do with Pisces, but the fish, right? So what will be the symbols of the age of Aquarius, and who is going to be the voice that steps up, that leads us into this new age? And the age of Aquarius, which is much more about brotherhood and sisterhood, about coming together as human beings to build community, to live together, to see that everybody's needs are taken care of, to see that we are only as strong as our weakest links. And when we strengthen the weak, we are also strengthening the strong, and it builds one upon the other. So the age of Aquarius, who's going to jump out and be that symbol? Likely we won't know. It's like, at the time of Christ, I don't know that people realized what a powerful influence he was on an age. But in retrospect, now we look back and we can see everything that he was trying to bring to the table, everything he was trying to teach, and how apropos it all was to the symbol of the fishes and to the symbol of Pisces. Now, we probably won't know until years from now as we look back, and it'll likely be our kids or our children's children that look back and go, oh, yeah, because an age is 2,150 years long. It might not even be our children's children. It might be further back, further up than that, before we really see who it was that jumped out as the character of the age of Aquarius. And maybe it would be humans. I have a feeling it will be humans and humanity, and how we rose to the occasion, even now in 2020, as the world begins to change yet again. And let's see. Asa, let me go back to the other question. J-Lo asks, how will it reflect on us as the Venus star? I don't even know how to answer that for you, J-Lo. Should we read it as the same as the planet Venus or differently? It's different. The Venus star is different. And the Venus star is one of 5 points that resonate at different times through. So all of us were born on a Venus star. That is not your Venus placement in your chart. But I do not know that information sufficiently to be able to answer that question. But then I'm wondering then maybe if you're speaking because maybe you had a Venus star that was in Virgo, or maybe a Venus star in Aquarius. But you can certainly get that from the book. And it's on my Kindle, which is not sitting here. I think it was from Ariel Gutman. Oh, Lord, what was that book? Something, I think it might just be called The Venus Star. So you might be able to get that book and look through that and read more into it. I just haven't had the time to complete that yet. Asa, thank you for bringing the question. Good morning, Ingrid. Better late than never. You're always welcome. And any other questions, please go ahead and ask Asa. So we're moving on then from the moon in Virgo and what that might bring to us today, tomorrow, and the next day. or at least part of the next day. And now let's talk about the other two transits of the day. Venus opposing Mars, Mars in retrograde in Aries, a sign he rules. Venus in Libra in direct motion, but also in a sign that she rules. So we have these two very powerful inner planets. When they're inner planets, that means they're going to affect us personally. This doesn't have much to do with what's going on in the world. It has everything to do with what's going on with you as a person, as an individual. Venus in Libra, of course, takes up our wants and our desires, and especially the wants and desires that we have is in relation to our relationships, right? So Venus rules the relationship aspect. It rules our values. It rules our finances. So in Libra, it's all about the great balancing act. How do we balance these things? How do we bring them forward in a nice balance or harmony, equalizing, if you will, the different aspects of who we are? But then the opposition, as an opposition always does, tears us in two, causes us to stretch across that opposition point so that we can find the harmony point. The opposition is Mars in retrograde, very frustrated at the moment, no doubt. Frustrated and maddened even by the slow pace of him in retrograde through a sign he rules. Can you just feel the frustration? Now, for us as individuals, where's that frustration? That frustration is trying to remember who you are, trying to recall, what am I here to do? Attempting to reimagine and reinvent yourself, as it were, over these last several weeks, months. It's been 2 months now since Mars went in retrograde. And so we still don't have the go sign. We don't have the green light yet to take us and propel us or push us out there. So what we have is frustration building. We have this push me, pull you energy across Venus and Mars to, one, express our desires, to push ourselves out there, to live from our desires, from our what do we want, right? And then on Mars on the other end, who says, okay, I'm going to carry the banner, I'm going to go, except I'm not, because I'm still spinning my wheels. I'm still asking you to get to the truth of what you desire. Is what you think you desire what you really desire? There's the question, right? There's the opposition point. We may think that we want one thing and we're pushing ourselves in that direction, but then there's this other part of ourselves that isn't getting expressed, and maybe we're being called over there. So the best thing to do is to balance all the parts of yourself, all the facets of yourself. Sometimes, for example, we're pulled between our families and our need for home and to take care of our children or to take care of things at home versus our careers that are pulling us to be more out in the world and to be more engaged at the worldly level. Again, an opposition, right? Sometimes our wants and our desires are caught up in finances, and we know that we have these desires for these things. Maybe we have a dream we want to build, but that requires finances. And in order to do that, what do I have to give up? What do I have to adjust in order to do the work necessary to build the financial stability to get the process moving? So we are facing all kinds of things. Maybe it's in your health. Maybe it's in your relationships. Maybe it's in your values. Maybe you thought you valued something and now that's been turned upside down. So that Venus opposing Mars, it's highly creative energy. The possibility is that we can create from a new place, right? You can create from a reimagining, from a rebirthing of what you thought, a reharmonizing even of those desires with a changing world and seeing your place in it, your truth in it. There you have that. Later in the day, things will get a little better there, though, because the sun comes into a trine with Neptune. Here's where it's very inspirational. This is spiritual energy that the light of the sun is shining on. It is more Zen, if you will, than the energy of the Venus opposition to Mars energy. Our intuition is triggered. So later in the day, we have more peace. The sun in trine to Neptune reminds us of what the most important thing is. and that's love, right? Love. Love is the single most important energy of the planet that we have to look for, we have to live from, we have to act from. And that Sun trine Neptune helps us to get there in a very inspirational, perhaps, way. Watch the art, the music of the day. Watch what people say. I bet the memes out there on Facebook land or Instagram are going to be beautiful and wondrous. It reminds me of the sunrise that I saw this morning out here with Mount Rainier. Just that awe and inspiration and incredible feeling that we get when we see something of beauty, when we hear something of beauty. So be ready to be wowed later in the day, right? Look for it. Don't wait for it to come to you. Look for it. Be on the lookout. Be aware of everything around you. Look for the beauty. Look for the spirit. Look for the intuitive. Look for the Zen. All right. Now, I want to, before I leave Mars and Venus alone, I want to talk a little bit about human design with the gate 57 that today Venus plants herself at. Remember, I said earlier in the broadcast, and we've been talking about this for a few weeks, that yea, though the sun has left the gates of the spleen, they are the gates in the spleen are the ones that kind of double as fear gates. The sun has left them, but the inner planets, Mercury and Venus, are now sitting at those gates and taking up the spot, right? That the sun is vacated. So now we have Venus today first moving into the gate 57. And Venus here has an ability to sense when the timing is right to take action on something. It is very intuitive, right? Venus can be the artful, the art of right timing, right? And at gate 57, she is the artiste of timing, knowing when to take the right action, knowing what's needed in order to be prepared for the future, because the gate 57 has sort of a slant toward the future. In the shadowy energy here, the fear energy, it's a fear of the future, right? It's a paralysis from distrusting your own instinct and your own intuition that holds you back from going where you need to go, doing what you need to do, being where you need to be. And we have to learn then in the gift level, if you will, to trust our guts, to trust our instincts, to trust. It's interesting that Virgo rules the gut, right? We were talking about that first this morning. And now I'm telling you, trust your gut, right? Trust your gut. Master right timing. And you do that by differentiating instinct versus fear, because we all know sometimes that in the process of starting something new, in the process of change, we're in a big process of change, the whole world. There's this feeling of distrust that happens, right? We don't know. And what we're really saying, what we're really distrusting is our own instinct, right? Our own intuition. And if you understand that in the moment that there's truly something for you to be fearful of, your instinct will kick in and will tell you what needs to be done, where you need to go, who you need to do that with, right? Versus the fear that's sort of vague and hazy in the gate 57 about like fearing the future. Like a lot of people, literally a chunk of this nation in fear right now over what it means for them to have a different president in office. So fear, is it real? We don't know. We have no evidence of any fear, right? We have nothing to really be instinctually aware of at this moment in time. But when there is something, when something does present itself, you have to trust that you will know what to do in the moment, where to be in that moment, etc. Now, Mercury, also an inner planet that represents the mind, your thinking and communicating, is now in a gate of fear. He's now sitting at the gate 50. He's been here a little bit longer. He's still, he's moving back through territory he's already been in now that he's moved forward direct. And so now he's back in the gate 50, which is a gate of nurturing. This is the most lovely of gates in your human design. It sits on the spleen at the point leading over toward the sacral. And in the human design circuitry, it is part of the circuitry that we call tribal or community circuitry. And here is a commitment to higher principles. What are those higher principles? Love, caring, nurturing, supporting your weakest links. It's everything that I was talking about earlier about the age of Aquarius. It is about cooking. It is about feeding. There's a big piece of this energy here that takes us to food and how we're eating and what we're eating, and are people eating good foods or not. So nurturing and of the mind in this case as well, because what are you feeding your mind, right? What are you feeding your mind? I got to share this movie I watched last night. It's an excellent movie. I almost didn't watch it. My husband told me, hey, everybody at work keeps talking about this movie called The Secret. And I went, Terry, we watched that movie back in 2005. We don't need to watch that movie again. He goes, no, this is different. So we went looking for it. It's on Netflix, and it's called, was it on Netflix? Oh, shoot. I think it was. Or it's either on Netflix or it's on Amazon Prime. And it's called The Secret. And it is with Katie Holmes and Josh, cannot remember his name. Nelson, Josh? Oh, anyway. It is an excellent movie. It is where The Secret was the documentary. This is the real life. How do we use the energy of what we learned in The Secret in a way that really helps us? And it's through story. And it's a delightful story. And you just can't, it's how I imagine living my life, right? Through magic and mysticism and following the omens and just the quinky dinks that happen and all of that. So go find it. It's called The Secret. With Katie Holmes, and I'll be darned if I can remember that other guy's name. But also the guy that was originally in The Secret, Dylan McDermott, is it? Anyway, sorry. I'm not really good with the names of actors and actresses, but I do remember Katie Holmes. So look up The Secret with Katie Holmes in it. Watch that movie. Perfect for the energy that we are in, where nurturing energy is important, where learning to trust our intuition and our instinct is important as well. What is it that you're putting into your mind, right? What is it that you are listening to? What is it that is taking up your brain space? All right, any other questions? Let Asa know. Okay, good. Now, let's take a look ahead at the week, right? We've talked a lot about today, but what are we expecting this week? Of course, today is the Venus opposing Mars retrograde and also the Sun in the trine to Neptune. That's today's energy, but it has an effect for us for several days during the week here. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Mercury, who will have finished his rounds in Libra and moved back into Scorpio, bringing us that more investigative mind, uncovering truth, digging deeper, right? So Venus or Mercury taking the mind into Scorpio territory, looking at the mind in terms of what's in there, and are you living from passion and love and joy and play, or are you living from conspiracy theories and ugliness and stinking thinking that we can all get ourselves into at times? So Mercury will finish up his retrograde by moving up through to about the 11th degree of Scorpio. Then he will be into new territory. That'll take another couple of weeks. I think it's November 19th, so another week after this. Tuesday, that's Tuesday. So Wednesday, we go into the new human design week, and it's a really exciting human design week, I believe, where the sun will be at the gate 43, the earth at the gate 23, the earth urging us to simplify, the sun asking us to see outside of the box, to live from a new reality. So it should be an interesting week as we get into that. On Thursday, we'll have the third Jupiter conjunct Pluto that started back earlier in April. I believe it was April 4th, and then again in June. And now the third pass of this momentous connection of these two planets, changing up the laws, changing upending society, and bringing us a lot of the dramas that we've had for the last several years have been a la Jupiter conjunct Pluto, but also Pluto conjunct Saturn, and then ultimately when all three of them were in a conjunction. So this will happen at 22 degrees of Capricorn, and wherever Capricorn is in your chart is where things have been upended, where things are being readied to rebuild, right? To be reestablished as a new foundation. Friday, Mars turns direct. Yes. At 15 degrees of Aries. So wherever that is where the action may again start to awaken and to move forward with new ideas, with that reimagined desire. And hopefully you all have been working on this. If not, it might be surprising to you how things turn, the turn of events at that point. That will be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, bridging over because it's 9 p.m. my time at night. For those of you on the East Coast, the new moon will occur Saturday morning, very early. This is a new moon in Scorpio. So we'll be talking about that later in the week. And then on Sunday, Venus in Libra will come into a square with Pluto and Jupiter, who've just conjuncted earlier in the week. And it ought to be interesting to see personally what your the effect of that major connection is in your own personal life. What new territory does it take you into? What new things can happen? Who do you want to be, right? Who do you want to show up and be? I can't believe that I just got through the whole of the day in like 40 minutes. That just never happens. So, questions, people, what do you have as questions? Do you want me to pull some collective cards? Let's see here. Mimi, it is becoming more notable that my creativity has been somewhat affected by the Mars retrograde, slow and challenging to be as productive, ready for the forward momentum. Joshua agrees, Mimi. He feels Mars slowing down. Right now, he's practically at a standstill, right? Let's see, what degrees he at today? Where's Aries? He's at 1522 today. So he's literally like just minutes away from being at his standstill point. So very slow. And I can sort of sympathize here because on Friday, a friend and I, we met up to sort of outline our goals for 2021. And it certainly did not go the way I thought it would go. And we did not focus on what I thought we would be focusing on. Or what I was excited to focus on isn't where we went. And I was kind of not disappointed at all, just sort of surprised by the direction that things went. And I haven't put it in its proper perspective yet. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to what all that might change as we go into 2021. Mimi, Joshua, in addition, this has been happening all along, and I laugh at myself. I'm just recently figuring this out. I love it. J-Lo, that puts my specialty weird. I always try and cook for people when they get sick. I use lots of herbs for some reason because herbs have healing power, right? They have healing power. They are plants, and plants have healing power. And here is just a hint for those of you as we move forward with the solar plexus mutation. It will affect how we eat and what we eat, primarily as we will become more compassionate beings. We will probably not be able to ingest meat anymore in the same way because we will become so aware of the feelings and the moments of terror an animal must feel as it knows it's facing its death, that we won't be able to eat meat anymore. I don't know how quickly that will happen, but it's an awareness that we have already that plants are more nutritious, right? They carry the direct light of the sun, right, in them. Where when we eat meat, we're getting it like second or third hand. We're not really getting the highest light. And in order to raise our frequency and our vibration to carry the amount of light that we want to carry going forward, that likely our diets will change. And I'm not saying go out there and change your diet right now. I'm not going out there and saying force yourself. I think it will just be a sort of natural thing that happens over time between now and those next 7 years, but primarily even the people born after 2027 will have that, sort of built in, that compassion that they'll feel for all of their sisters and brothers on the planet, whether they're furry, feathered, fishy, or human. Not that we eat humans, but you know what I'm saying. right? The care, the feeling of it. Sylvester says, I have a lot of planets in Capricorn. Oh, here he goes. I definitely feel the shift and the uncertainty. Been playing a lot more music and presenting myself more. My Virgo is in the second house. The second house is a house not only of finances and money, but self-worth, self-esteem, and how you feel about what you do and whether you can share it from your heart without feeling like it's not good enough or that you don't have the confidence to go out there and do it. And I just say, Sylvester, keep sharing, keep sharing, keep sharing. It gets easier over time. I remember the first time I came on live. First of all, back in 2013, I started a radio show on Authentic You Media. It was 2013, February 14th, 2013 is when I started my broadcasting, and I was scared to death. Right? I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get on there and I'm not going to know what to say. My mind is going to go blank. I had all of those fears. And now, 7 years later, look where I am, right? And I had that same sort of fear feeling when I switched from behind the scenes with radio and into being seen. I still sometimes have that when I'm going on somebody else's show or doing something of new, noteworthiness. So we are all moving through and shifting to be able to live from our passions. So carry on. Christine says, thanks. We'll watch it now. Thought it was a corny romantic film. No corny at all. It's very profound. I think you guys would like it. I wouldn't recommend it if because remember, I'm sitting here last night going, oh, really? Do I need to watch this? And you know what always happens? And I always tell him this, is that he tells me, oh, we got to watch this movie because this movie's awesome. I hear about it, everybody at work. And then he goes to sleep. He sleeps through it. So there's nobody for me to say, oh, how do you feel? Doesn't that make you feel so good? No. He always goes to sleep. So I watched it. I watched it the whole way. Okay, a lot of planets in Capricorn, Sylvester. So there's a lot of rebuilding that you're doing, a lot of reinventing of yourself. Good morning, Marissa Bennett. She says, yes, please pull a card. What I need to do. Corey, Mimi, you are correct. Same here. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all in Capricorn. Holy moly, Sylvester. That is a lot of pressure to destroy and rebuild, right? Deconstruct, reconstruct, degenerate, regenerate. So lots going on there. Xenia Cuellar, Mars retrograde is trine my Mars, very push and pull energy. But the trine, Xenia, which by the way, I love your name, the trine in some ways makes that easier for you. Now, the trine can also sometimes make people a little lackadaisical, right? A little bit like, well, things are just ease and flow, and why should I try any harder? So this might be an opportunity, a prompt for you to really get to the work of reimagining or reworking whatever the Aries energy and what the trine is. So it's either going to be in Leo or over in Sagittarius. And what does that mean for you? What is trying to be rebirthed? That you might have to actually put a little more pedal to the metal to get it to do it, just because the nature of the trine is, I'm going to say this, a little lazy. We love ease and flow, don't get me wrong, but that's why the squares are so helpful in a chart, because they help give you that courage and that push to do something different, because the trines just sit back on their laurels and sort of watch the flow. So we have to have both, right? Mimi, Corey gives us good stuff to look forward to. Ready to be busy, busy, busy. Debbie Tibbetts, I have to eat meat or I get sick. Type O blood. I have type O blood and I don't get sick when I don't eat meat. But at the moment, if that's what your body needs, you have to go with what you know works for you, what's been supporting you, because you've been on this planet already 60 some years. I don't know how old you are, Xenia, but however many years you've been here, your body's adapted to that as your diet. Changing that might be worse for you. But as time goes on, as people become more aware and live, evolution, it's evolutionary. So we become more concerned about what it is we're eating in terms of animal meat. But certainly, please don't go into judging one another about whether you're eating meat or not. I still eat meat. I still love me some chicken. And at this point in time, I'm going to experiment, I think, a little bit, see how I feel, because I really do love vegetables too. And beans and those types of things can fill in where the protein from meat might need to come out. So again, not a judgment, just live your life based on your intuition, what you know to be true for you. This is an evolutionary energy that we're talking about here. J-Lo, yes, my kids and I actually have been feeling this ugh feeling with meat. A lot of the younger people are definitely going to be the ones that really bring that to us, that really start to really model that. It'll be the younger of the youngers. So, you know, younger kids, it'll be for sure after 2027, which is still 7 years away or 6.5 years away, where we'll see that they really thrive on more of the plant-based nutrition, which will be different from their parents, who are maybe the bridge to that, and certainly different from their grandparents who have lived in a meat or protein-based world. So, but things are changing, and they always do, right? They always do. We're in that time between the change where we're starting to become more aware of the things that need to change and of the opportunity that new energies present to us. So, all right. J-Lo says, I went through a stage where I ate only fish. Everything else made me sick. I guess it's just flowing with it. Exactly. Definitely, definitely notice and do what your body is needing, right? That's the thing. It's all about you. What do you need, right? And you know you best. Okay. Let's take a look then at what kind of, and by the way, I'm not talking whether you're vegan or vegetarian. That's not it at all. It is working on living a plant-based diet. That is more than vegan. It doesn't mean no meat whatsoever. It just means like eggs and things like that. They're considered meat. And I don't believe vegans eat that. And so what we can do is live by what it is that is being called for you right now. And in fact, we may need more of the protein type of energies right now as we're in the midst of the change. So I certainly don't advocate changing up your diet without following your own intuition, and then also listening to the voice of your doctors or your healthcare team. All right, I'm just pulling some cards out that I want to share for the collective. One I like to do is always pulling an animal, a spirit animal card from the Spirit Animal Oracle, right? The Spirit Animal Oracle deck by Colette Baron Reed. And let's see, I need to go back to Zoom so I can tell when the card is centered in the viewer. This is a card for the collective, an animal to guide us through this week, which might have some crazy ups and downs with it. There's no Uranus moments, I can tell, at the moment, except, you know, with the moon. And that's kind of a good thing. Ooh, oh my gosh, I can't even believe this happens. We get mouse spirit again. Tend to the small things. Card number 40. And it was upside down this time. So mouse spirit, that's what we got last week on Monday. That's funny. So we haven't quite finished with this lesson of seeing the details. So mouse spirit says, tend to the small things. And in protection, it says, are you too caught up in the details, micromanaging others and stressing out because you want everything to be perfect? Are you procrastinating because you want every detail to be just right and losing track of time and your priorities? Mouse spirit wants you to listen to your intuition that tells you that the detail you fear you are overlooking will only appear when you stop obsessing. Mouse spirit will lead you to the nuances you need to notice and will diligently work to support you if you take a breath and trust that guidance will be provided. Small gestures carry great power right now, and maybe you need to take action toward discovering what is going on that you may not be seeing, or toward mending a relationship or a situation. Ask a question, do a little research, and listen for mouse spirit's quiet little squeak telling you, look here, and attend to this detail. Love it. Little mouse, our little mouse. And then I thought I would pull a goddess card, and this is also Colette Baron Reed, right? Goddess power. And you can get those decks, of course, from Hay House. Any of these decks, you know, are fabulous. But I like variety, so I get many decks so that I can share many different viewpoints with you. So let's see what our goddesses have for us for this week. How can we gentle up the energy, especially because Venus is front and center, and as well Mercury, right? Oh, there we go. We have an upside down Lilith, Independence, card number 29. She's gorgeous. And she came out upside down, which means we have an empowerment message, or an alignment message, excuse me. When they're right side up in this deck, they are an empowerment message. When they are upside down, it is an alignment message. So let's see what we need to align with this week. And it says, do you sometimes fear being independent? You may have been conditioned to believe the only way to have close relationships is to become enmeshed and entangled with others. Do you long for independence and breathing space, yet fear reprisal should you choose to detach from unhealthy companions or situations? You'll need courage for the alignment task Lilith asks of you. Walk away and establish a more empowered sense of self by saying no to these relationships that drain your very life force. Sometimes people attract dramas into their lives to avoid accountability. Enabling this dynamic helps you avoid the responsibility that's required when you have no one else to blame for the conditions of your life. Other people's chaos becomes a smokescreen that muddies the real truth. Deep down, you're afraid of the consequences of taking charge of your life. However, all is not lost. You would not be here reading these words if you weren't ready or strong enough to make these changes. You are up-leveling your life. Lilith is beside you to lend you the strength and courage to do the right thing for yourself and for others. Well, that's a good card for us this week. Perfect. All right. Any last questions, Asa, that have been asked that I've missed? I'm not seeing anything there. Perfect. All right. I guess that is it for me today. Let me take one last look myself. See if there's any good questions that I want to work with. Year of the Mouse in Chinese New Year matches the Virgo moon. Interesting. Sylvester, I'm doing the 75 hard challenge. So I have been vegan for 19 days now. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. My daughter tried to do the 75 hard and she got caught up because drama happened in her life and she got off the exercise part of it. So she would have had to start over and again, and I don't think she has done that. So good for you and carry on. He says, I feel great, but I do miss some chicken. Yep. J-Lo says, just be careful, Sylvester. Follow the nudges your body sends. Indeed. Xenia says, mouse spirit sounds very Virgo. It does, doesn't it? It's almost perfect. A great reminder, though, with it being upside down, to not get so buried in the details that you forget to come up for air and look at the bigger picture as well, right? J-Lo, I just read Up and Flow with Natural Ones and asked my doctor to send me to a nutritionist and they help. It's been so hard to follow so many different ones. Yeah, I know what you mean there, J-Lo. Do what follows. Do what your body needs. You know you best. That's all I can say. Do you best. We do know that evolution is pushing us in that direction, but we're not there yet. We are not there yet. Your bodies are not prepared for that yet. So we have a choice. Do we want to prepare our bodies for that? Or and what does that look like? It's going to look different for Debbie than it looks for J-Lo, than it looks for me, than it looks for Sylvester. So we all have to follow our own inner nudge. Amanda J., who is the author of those cards? They are all Colette Baron Reed. So let's see. Yeah, up at the top here, Colette Baron Reed. And that's the goddess and the spirit animal oracle are both from, they're both decks from her. And of course, thank you, J-Lo, for the reminder. Please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe down below if you have not. Welcome to those of you who are new. I saw some new faces out there. Welcome, welcome. And have a wonderful day, everybody. Live your life in joy. go find what it is that you can be grateful for. Make it a gorgeous day.